go, like 7 or 8 strands in it, and it's quite stiff. It's actually steel wire, I think. And I just take that down the hole and away you go. Some of the basic tools is just to start with. So scale ruler, verniers, steel edge for scribing, cutting, circle thing from news agents or an art store, square. When you're using files, don't go and buy the cheapest files from a $2 shop. Just go and spend another $5 or $10 and get a better set. And the $2 ones, you know, like they're over the shop, you know, where you get a decent set of files, you actually get a good square file or a flat file with really sharp edges, and the teeth go all the way to the edge of the file, and it's really good for filing. I use those all the time when I'm filing out windows and buildings and that. Also brushes, they're handy. The suede brush, the leather suede brush, I use that for cleaning up stuff as well. With some of the thicker styrene, I use a pea cutter or a scribe knife. This one's by Alpha, and then Tamiya, they also have one. But I found the Tamiya one, it's actually got the little screw-on handle to hold the blades on. It's actually on one side that gets in the way. So it's actually, believe it or not, it's a knife. It's a right-handed knife, not a left-handed knife.
Discrimination.
So when I'm using styrene with a pea cutter, I tend to use a straight edge. I'll mark my line, put the ruler directly in the middle of the line, and then start scribing. I'll scribe all the way down till you feel it's just starting to break through, and I'll cut it off with the modelling. And then when it's cut off, you'll end up with a little lip on the styrene you cut out. So I just on the workbench with a light, I hold it up to the light and I can see a shadow. So I just use my files and I'll file it off until the shadow disappears, and then you know it's this way onto transparency. There's also Pete Borman who sells some of his products with like a little ink well with a little arm on it, and you could draw lines with that with paint. You can do that with paint. So when I'm making my windows, I mean, this is how I do it. Once I've created this part, once I've got the face completed, I'll then glue on another sheet of styrene on the back, and I will drill that out once again. But then I'll file it so that it's set in a bit more, so that you can actually get the actual wooden sash created, and then you can just put your windows from the transparency in behind that. Ends up being quite a good window once it's all painted up. All these sort of details here, they're just once again, a lot of it's just massive production of things, and it's just because of the chopping board. You just set it and just churn out all your pieces over the whole containers, and just put a whole lot of sizes into one container, one to another, jam, Charlie, whatever, and then just glue them on with the tweezers. The way I've done my photo etch windows, I've made the surround a lot, so that's the back of the window. The window cavity, I'll actually fit the brass window onto that already pre-painted, and I can then put the transparency in, and then there's just a block of styrene, and then a wider piece that actually locks it in place so the windows won't fall out. Because one thing I've found when you're dealing with all different types of mediums, some things don't hold glue, you know, and you've got different expansions and contractions of different materials, so it's good if you can lock them in. That's how I've done it with, that was a bit minor, is with some buildings, like some of the wharf warehouses on Newcastle, I've had inside and outside of the walls. So if that was the outside, that's how it looks with corrugated iron. Then the inside, you can actually just make it up and then lock it all together with another sandwiches together and put the wall frames in. The corners on buildings, like that's Customs House on Newcastle, Central Station's Clock Tower, to align all the brickwork and get these perfect corners, you have to have, like, so that you get at least a 45-degree angle, 45 or more. I tend to make the buildings so they're actually like a smooth styrene frame, and then glue these on afterwards, the brick pattern, and it becomes quite strong, and you don't see whether that's a bit more than 45 or not when it's glued together. The main thing is to get it to get straight edge with brickwork and the lining of brickwork and stuff. When you're sticking styrene together, you have to actually, if you're laminating styrene, you need to have an equal thickness. So if you've got say 1 mil to 0.5 mil, it tends to bow like a bimetal strip, if anyone knows what that is, where you've got two different metals and they expand at different rates, it tends to cup. So you can glue 1 mil to 1 mil or 0.5 to 1 mil to 0.5 for warping of styrene. And also with the buildings, I still build internal framework and stuff like that just to keep everything square. That's one of the buildings on Newcastle in the making. This just gives a load of measurements for wall battens and window architraves and door architraves and things like that, which is good for end scale. But with timber-clad buildings, they quite often would have a batten down the edge just to seal the end grain from the weather. So I've done that. Sometimes I'll put just a block board if it's just a single skin of styrene. Otherwise, I'll be gluing all that onto another solid wall frame. With the roofs, I tend to actually make it a large plastic sheet goes right across the roof, and then that then incorporates the eaves, and then I'll make up triangles of styrene. You only need to make one and then use that as a template, and then everything should match up. That of course is a hip roof, that's one at the top, there's a gable roof. There's some of the buildings on Newcastle, just showing just the finishing touches, having down pipes on it. When I've done veranda posts with all the fancy trimming and things like that, I've on the chopping board, I'll chop. If this is the base plate here, I will chop the styrene just a little bit longer than what's required, and I'll glue them on like that, and then trim them afterwards with a modelling knife and then file it really neat, and then it all ties in, and that's how all the little extra details are done on that. Now that's the corrugated iron I've used. Once again, it's the styrene sheeting, and I'll mark it out in 5mm increments because that's roughly the size in end scale of a sheet of corrugated iron with the overlap. And then I'll use my modelling knife or the P cutter, scribe knife, and just do a couple of scribes for that spacing, and then. Hang on. And then and then I've in the early days they never had large sheets of corrugated iron, mainly because all the locals, they just had carts, so they couldn't carry corrugated iron, so they generally all made a certain length, which would fit in your local cart. That'd be another scribe line going across. That's the main concourse roofing for Central Station. How long was it? 655mm in length. So it is a bit over 2 foot by 180 mil wide. So I went to a plastic shop, and they had quite a large number of styrene sheets, as in large sheets, really good sized sheets, and that'll do it. Good on you. and so the main frame underneath is styrene, the same size styrene as one piece. I just cut out these quarter pies, used one as a template that was able to create the actual shape of the roof support. Then I used 0.5 mm styrene and cut it to length and worked out the angle and the curve of what these corners are going to be, and then was able to glue that onto the styrene frame. After that was done, then I used these sheets of scribe styrene as effect, and I was able to glue that on, and then because it was laminated, it became quite strong. Even to the extent where I came back from an exhibition one time and our cat jumped in the car and it sat on top of this. Yeah, a bit of a heart attack, but yeah, but it supported it. But it just looked like a cut up, butchered horse. So I ended up just getting a piece of styrene cut out the shape of the kangaroo and for the emu, and just with a gentle burrs, I sort of put a bit of muscle shape into it, and it was a much better effect.
Like the monster from the black.
Yeah. It's pretty ordinary. When I've also, like Central Station, it also had these, this balustrade. I've got some of it here. You can pass that around. That's how I went about it. I first of all, putting it in the lathe and making these little bollards, and tried to, and I thought I'd solder them together, but I just could not get them all identical and get the spacings identical. So Pete Borman, when I went and sat down, I wanted to do it as an etch and fold it up so that it looks like, and doing that, so that'd be one section there, and it incorporated all those. And it meant that the spacings were correct and the dimensions were all identical. And that was just slotted into the styrene framework. And so it was actually quite complicated to do. So in Corel I just drew up block by block how it would all go together, as well as some channel styrene, so it can actually be locked into place rather than just physically gluing it and having it sort of break off later. So everything's locked in place. So that's it there, which has been passed around, and it folds up into that shape there. And I've actually etched it so that the outer bollard parts are narrower and they don't go all the way to the top. There's a bit of a gap. So when it's soldered together, it actually becomes quite convincing. And, but yeah, that helped a lot doing the diagram. So even the bridge, it was absolutely everywhere with stuff. So that bridge was fairly complicated. That was at Pitt Street end of so it had rusticated stone, it had arches, but it also had arches inside the arches, and also the tram went over it, and it veered off the bridge into the tram stop at Central Station, and plus Eddie Avenue slope, so I had to take into consideration the slope, the arches, the curve of the bridge going off. And also there was an arch in the bridge itself, so these bollards, when I drew them, they were sort of more up and down, whereas the ones down this end, they were sort of, so yeah, sort of it. This is just to sort of show shaping that you can do with styrene. So rather than just, making flat objects, you can start adding more styrene pieces from evergreen.
Have you got the ball going on the golf thing?
I was on the verge of it. Like I photographed that. I measured the building and photographed the sign. And I drew that up and etched it. The real one had 33 little light bulbs all the way along until 13, and I was going to use fibre optics and do the effect. But if I did it now, you can get such tiny surface mount LEDs, it'd be quite possible to do. But there's some of the other things I've etched, the gantry signals, and it wasn't my etch, was the handrail at the top. I got the brass wire. With this bridge, I had a diagram of that bridge at the Hay Street end of Belmore Park, and in a book scale drawing, and so I went up there and I measured the bridge internally and across the road, and so then I was able to actually put the plan onto the copier and expand it to the size of the bridge, and from that I was able to create the elliptical arch of the bridge, and the drawing had every correct positioning of the stone blocks. So I was able to get all the stonework correct. And these buildings here, they just sort of show different eras. That's more of an Art Deco building. There's an 8-storey building, Elizabeth House, and the other buildings. But it just shows, the detail that you can actually put on, once again with styrene, because once it's glued together, it welds, and you can actually carve and shape these things. That was the roof of... Oh, sorry. Are you able to...
Back to 2 slides with the... And that there.
Yeah.
If you had your time over again, because it's a number of years ago that Sydney Central was just taking everyone by storm, would you 3D print those?
Yeah, quite possibly. I think that would be a great idea. But back then, there was no such thing as 3D printing. So you sort of having to sort of think up of more primitive ways of doing things. Yeah, but 100%. And that's the plus for 3D printing. When you've got all this fine detail and you need it in mass production, it's a saviour.
It's all the same.
Indeed. Yeah. Slide here mentions the paints. Back when I made this, the hobby shop in Canberra only had generally Humbrol paints, so everything I worked with was covered with Humbrol paint. So I used number 94 was matte enamel paint, number 94 and number 121, and I would spray all of Central just bit by bit, and it was just half mix. And then I'd give it a dusting of matte black, more so around the roadway and where there's overhangs and things like that. And it brought that plastic look down and made the stone look quite realistic. Oh, by the way, that signal box, there was 2 of those. There's one here and there's one down the other end, Eddie Evans, at the Tooheys Brewery. They took about a week to make each one of those, and they're just tiny little end skulls. Signal box, the tram signal box. So I also did up a decal for the glass pattern and all that. The roof on, that's the tram stop in Eddie Avenue. I was able to get the tile roofing, but I couldn't get the ridge capping to suit. So what I've done is I just guillotined some strips of paper, and then some of those strips of paper on the chopping board, I just chopped them into little rectangles, and then overlapped them and glued them on. Once that was dry, then I folded on a ruler. If it was a short piece, I just folded on with scissors, whatever. Mum's good scissors is best for that. And then just 5 minute hour, I glued them on, and then once it's all painted, it ties in really well. So that's how it's done on ridge capping on tile roofs. Ridge capping with that's a slate roof, corrugated iron roof. With this one, in end scale, I've used 0.25mm thick by 1mm styrene strips, and I just glue them onto the roof. And then the gap, that's really good if roofs don't quite meet up. The ridge capping will glue it tight all together. So, and then a little rod of 0.5mm styrene rod down the centre gives that little hump that a lot of the earlier days ridge capping had. So that's a single box for Newcastle. I've also made it so these roofs can slip off, so up to lighting and fitting out the single box. Also, the finial and fascia board on that was quite ornate. It was something that I couldn't have done handmade, so I have actually photo etched that and made it with little fold-in tabs so they could go in underneath the styrene so they'd lock in place. So I did that there. That was another way of doing lighting. I'd make a little box and fix that to layer. Do your lighting, put furniture and stuff in, and then the building slips over really snugly over the top, so you can take that out for any reason. I was also going to pass around, back in, I don't have the picture up now, but that photo up close, this is how I did the central station underneath the tram stop. I drew the windows, because they had these stained glass patterns, they were just square glass, but this is how I did the stained glass windows, and it worked really well. Drew it in Corel and then just printed onto transparency film on the copier. And you can pass that around. And also, this was a bit slow, but it worked. This section of Central Station had stonework with brickwork around it. So I actually made this entire wall with one piece of styrene. Then I made a template and created these bits of stone, and then the brickwork was one long sheet of brick, and I would just mark out roughly where each doorway set was, and then I would cut it out and then file it, and it slowly worked my way along until it actually clips on. That's how snug it was, and then I'd continue on to the next one, and it would clip on. So the whole sheet of plastic, it's glued on, but you put it on. That's how snug it was. That's how I did it. It worked for me. Mind numbing. Oh, and also the decals. If anyone does decals, I've seen in the early days people would just scan a photo or whatever and then print it off as a decal. It ends up being blurry. It's a reproduction of something. So I usually put these signs into Corel, and then I'll trace them, and so then they'll be sharp as. So these are the correct signs that were above this building that have been done as a decal. And also the framework, that was so it's the correct pattern framework with supportable signs. When you're doing circular stuff, including portholes on ships and things like that, I've used the leatherwork punch, and you can select the size, and you just punch out all these little flat styrene discs, or believe it or not, and then really good front end and rear and side views. So I put them in the Corel drawer. Then there's a website on Jane A. Brown tugboats of all things, and it has the basic measurements of their tugboats. So I was actually set the photograph to scale and then trace it, and I drew up my own plans. So that was a bit of a blurry photo, but that was the colour scheme that I chose. It was sort of the early, when it first arrived. And then that's probably 1910, something like that. Commodore, and then the photographer around ready to watch one of these things when they're full of plugs. So there's always a photograph. So that's Commodore going down to the depths in 1931, September 1931. So that's the model of it. So it shows the amount of styrene that is in it. Some of it is photo etched of the splash guards and some of the rails and light buoys and the rat lines. And then it shows it's painted up. That's the rear view of it. So there's a lot of detail goes into just a basic tugboat, but it's amazing and the information I was able to do is great. And then I did the decal of the actual sign on it. And this was the pride of Jane A. Brown's tugboat fleet. This is Champion, and it was 136 feet and in length. And when it wasn't in use, John Brown would use it for dinner cruises for guests. 5 minutes to go? Okay. And the cook would cook, and there was a piano which was actually bolted into the tugboat, and when we finished cooking food, he would then play and entertain the guests. So once again, through the plans, another photo, That's it in making, so it shows you styrene. It's actually, I bought a big sheet of 3mm thick styrene, and I was able to actually, from my artwork, I was able to actually make layers of it, and then glue it together and clean it up on a belt sander, but you have to use a fairly coarse belt sander. If it's too fine, it'll tend to heat it up, and it's a thermoplastic, so it'll melt. And then pin smooth file, so it's painted up, rear end of it, and even the decals, correct decals on the light buoys for it and the light plates, and fitted it with LEDs, so it's got 9 LEDs and mast lights and port hole lights and port and starboard. This is the ship I made for the layout. This is NMRA. There was quite a number of paddle ships. Back in the days when they were quite experimental, and so some transitions between sail and steam. Had paddle wheels at the side. This used to trundle all the way from Newcastle to Sydney and back. And with the paddle wheels, it looks, you know, like quite buoyant, but it'd be dreading the ocean in a dark night with lumbering seas and paddle wheels coming up out of the ocean and things like that. You wouldn't want your cabin anywhere near that. Yeah. So that's an early day photo of the NMRA Newcastle Wharf. That's it, that's the Gatter Day. That photo is exceptional, the detail that I could get out of it. From this one photo in the book, I was able to find probably about over a dozen photos of this one ship, and including 3 photos of the passengers and crew on the deck. And the photos on the deck are great because it shows you where they had riding on the light buoys. It shows you see the size of the deck planks and things like that, and get out. So I drew it in Corel. Then I drew 3mm increments, so I knew exactly how many sheets of styrene would have to go into it. You can see there the shadow, that's how high the 3mm layers of styrene went. I made an inner deck with some partitioning and doorways and put LEDs in there so that the porthole and doorways will light up.
You should be able to make a teaspoon out of styrene. How do you do that?
That's it when it's fitted out, just about ready.
How does it bend? It's not pliable, is it?
Hey?
How do you bend it?
Well, it's just layers of styrene, and then I'll actually carve it to the shape.
He's got too much time on.
Yeah, and then I finished off by putting 0.5mm and 0.25mm strips of styrene on, which went with the curve of the ship to give an indication of iron handling. That's the rear of it. It's still included. I don't have the light buoys on that. So that's it painted up. There was 11 LEDs went into the lighting on that one. So yeah. It took about 6 months. Yeah, but I'm getting quicker. So yeah. This is how I made the air vents. It was 3 blocks of styrene. So styrene tube, then a square of styrene, a flat square of styrene. Then carved it with the cutting disc on the Dremel, filed it in shape, and then I actually hollowed out. The bigger ones, I actually hollowed out right into the tube, so it actually connects. That shows you some of the detail of the front end of it, where the steam anchor winch, brass, just little bits of brass pieces that I made all handmade, soldered together. And the capstan, there's a steam-driven capstan, and that was just made out of styrene. That's another ship that was made in a scale of 1 to 300 because it sits at the back of the layout, so it gives it depth. And the colours are faded as well, so the ship's at the front, black is a black, whereas here it's a dark grey, and the red was faded out, and the whites was actually a very light grey, and it fades into the backdrop. And that's an overall shot of some of the ships I've made. I've made a sailing ship there, which is the Polly Woodside, more down in Melbourne, doing the James Craig at the moment, and that will be the last boat that goes into it. So there's my modelling there. So some people like to model really neat, and I can't help it. Like I'm just really messy. So you can underneath that you can see the chopping board, It's just buried there. And sometimes it gets that bad. Sometimes I will go out to the shed and I'll get a piece of chipboard and I'll come back and I'll start working on my lap on that piece of chipboard. And sometimes that gets so bad I'll go out to the shed and get another piece of chipboard. And then I'll finally clean the whole lot up.
No, that don't make me feel so bad with the look of my workbench now.
Yeah. So that's a standard one. That's the one in the house. I've got another one in the shed that looks just the same. And that's it.
Questions, anybody? Questions for us?
Where is Central now?
It's in the dust shed up at Goulburn Beach near Sandstone, near Bribey. So I don't have all the buildings on at the moment, but I hope to have it all set up and running to the meet at my place in May. Yeah.
With Central Station, do you have actual drawings of it to model up, or is it just from what you've measured and photos?
I did get some scale plans of Central, and I actually, but it didn't have measurement marks on it, so I went up there and measured it. Yeah, which was a daunting task in itself. And plus, when you get all the way there, then you find when you've driven like 300 k's back home, and you find there's a measurement in this.
You lined up and asked her what the lasers
Yeah, and it did eventually get touched with the railway staff there, and they were really pleased to help. And they were busting to get up the clock tower. Yeah.
Not these days.
No. When they were railway officials, they were wearing ties and suits, and when they went up there, they didn't care about that. They were busy photographing each other at the top of the tower.
Thanks, Ross. If you can thank Ross again, please, for his presentation.
Hang on, another question.
What made you choose areas that you shared modelled Central and Newcastle on?
Sorry, what was that?
Why did you model the era?
The era? Central was because I'd made all these model cars and trucks, and it meant that I could use the FC Holden, I could use XFJ and FC, and I've got a lot of photos of the Sydney Deluxe cabs, so I was able to use that.
And what about Newcastle?
And Newcastle, 1899, there's many reasons, but Customs House, the extension on it was completed in 1899. The Boer War started in 1899, and Fort Strachey was in the background, which I painted, and that's where they trained some of the troops for the war. My grandmother was born in 1899, and 1899 just sounds a lot older than 1900.
Thank you, Ross. Okay, we're going to take about a 15-minute break. You can go and have a layout with Darren. If anyone has show and tell? Right, so we'll have about 5 minutes each. So while you're having the layout, there'll be another chance for the layout, so don't panic. We'll set up you guys for the show and tell while they're doing that. So if you'd like to have a 15-minute break, we'll set up the show and tell. Thank you.
And just to step on the if you're walking on the grass on the other side of the stretch, you have those few holes.
And if you haven't signed the attendance sheet, if you could do so, please.
Okay, yeah.